Hello, this is Mocha Product Manager Martin Brennand, and welcome to this overview of what's new in Mocha Pro 2026.5. This release adds some powerful new ways to generate mats, export some more versatile formats, and a new way to track power meshes that may even help your planar track. Let's take a look. First up in Mocha Pro 2026.5, we have made every step of the mat module better. Starting with the object brush, you can now preview what is going to be masked simply by hovering over any object in the shot. This preview automatically adjusts resolution based on the speed of your machine to give fast results. Clicking with the object brush now provides an automatic region of interest, defined by a dashed box around the area you're focusing on. This helps create tighter mats with less gaps or anomalies. For example, here we can see a shot with and without Auto ROI enabled. The region of interest approach shows tighter fits around the legs, clothing, and hands. If you turn off Auto ROI, you can define a region yourself by holding down the Command or Control key, then dragging around the target area, focusing the result even further. For Mat Assist ML, we've introduced a similar region of interest approach called Search Area. This set of fields allows you to define how far around the current mat you want to search for the object in the next frame, rather than searching a reduced version of the whole image. This makes the final result more accurate because you can work with more detail in the surrounding areas rather than a low-resolution version of the same frame. Finally, a similar region of interest has been added to refine mats to clip how far outside your object you want to look for soft edges. This keeps focus on the immediate areas around the object and crops out any rogue areas outside that range. Refine Mats has also been updated with vastly improved memory handling when rendering. One of PowerMesh's greatest strengths is capturing subtle warping in surfaces such as skin and cloth. This subtleness comes at a cost of being very sensitive to obstructions, light, and shadow. With Mocha Pro 2026.5, we now have a new way to tackle difficult PowerMesh tracks: Point Track ML. This approach to tracking mesh points is great at locking onto features you actually want to track while ignoring everything else. For example, in this shot, the regular subplanar mesh track will get thrown badly by the hand shadow. With Point Track ML, the shadow is completely ignored and only the face movement is tracked. Point Track ML is also great at ignoring obstructions that would usually push PowerMesh vertices out of the way. Here, tracking the hand scar, the mesh glides under the fingers without being crushed. It can even handle turning corners and recover the mesh if a surface turns back again, something that was simply not possible before, even with the planar track. Point Track ML is so good at handling some tracking situations, we've even added a new feature to convert the mesh track back to planar data again. In shifting shots like this one, the planar track would have a hard time locking onto the building. Using planar from mesh track in the motion options, we can track the surface with a grid of Point Track ML mesh points instead. Mocha will then convert the mesh data to planar data, making it easier to adjust and complete the shot. Because Point Track ML has been so useful in helping PowerMesh tracks, we've also added this approach to help with the AdjustTrack module. In general, AdjustTrack helps fixing drifting tracks by adding a layer of user-driven adjustments on top of the existing tracking data. In Mocha Pro 2026.5, you can use the Auto Nudge feature combined with Point Track ML to automatically find drifting points and correct them. To do this, turn on Auto Step and define how many keyframes apart you want to add adjustments. Then choose Point Track ML from the Nudge type dropdown. The Point Track ML option has a range of features to assist the nudging process. You can refine the nudge position further using per point adjustments or looking at the full resolution image for extra details. You can also use a range of support grids that add extra points to the shot for more accuracy. This is all designed to make it easier to follow the existing points through the shot so they line up with the reference frames. This can help even if your point goes out of shot or is obscured, so you can reduce the amount of manual adjustments. Getting mat data out of Mocha has had several updates to support a range of studio workflows. The Export Rendered Shapes dialog can now export mats as alpha with the source clip, instead of just straight RGB mat data. EXR now supports multi-layer mattes, allowing you to export each layer to a different channel, instead of a single combined matte. We can also export matte color to a transparent RGB overlay, so individual mattes can be split into color channels. This is assisted by a new option in the layer controls to quickly set selected matte colors to pure red, green or blue. Matte data in the export dialog has also had an update, allowing users to turn off layer range opacity keyframing for After Effects, Fusion and Flame. But that's not all, we have a range of smaller updates to make a smoother Mocha experience. The curve editor can now display PowerMesh vertex positions, making it easier to see problems in the track. The Python API has more granular access to PowerMesh properties and matte assist contours. The default project output folder and file cache can now be overridden by environment variables, making it easier to set up studio pipelines. Mocha will now show a more helpful progress indicator when a tool is initializing or needs to take a while processing something. And finally, Mocha Pro now supports Windows on ARM systems for Mocha Pro Standalone and Adobe plugins. With these new tools, Mocha Pro 2026.5 adds yet another layer of flexibility for challenging VFX workflows. For more tutorials, documentation, and the wide range of Boris FX products, check out the website at borisfx.com.